Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to another thrilling installment of Tiki's Universe, the show where we discuss and recap a whole myriad of animated TV programming, including DuckTales, Big Hero 6, Steven Universe, and more. Oh man, Jacob. So today we are talking about DuckTales Beware the Buddy System, and this is an episode and a half, if I do say so myself, because it's literally kind of like it's like they set us up for one thing that was awesome, Jacob, which was Manuel Miranda as Launchpad, or not as Launchpad, sorry, it's Gizmoduck, and then they gave us something entirely new and something that we thought we were going to have to wait a lot longer for, which is
Darkwing Duck.
I am the terror that flaps in the night. Oh my god. Okay, Jacob. Like, folks, I'm just going to put it out here right now. This is my second. No, I'm going to say this is my third favorite episode of the series. It's still number 2 over the pilot and then over Impossible Summit of Mount Everest, just because I think the pilot and Mount Everest do the ensemble cast storyline really well and do the they really do feel like throwbacks to classic DuckTales. But Beware the Buddy System is by far the best chunk of fan service we've had on the show thus far, because this is like I literally, like, I had no idea that Darkwing was coming, and so here we are.
Like, well, my first now the first thing you see, like, as like the Jack, the Jack in the Box.
Mm-hmm.
The logo is like, oh, that kind of looks like Mr. Banana Brain from
That's exactly what I was thinking, Jacob. As soon as the episode started, it had a Darkwing Duck vibe to it, and I was kind of like, wait, no, this is supposed to be a Gizmoduck episode.
And then I was like,
are they really going to introduce Darkwing Duck here?
And then I saw Quack, and I was like, it is him.
Oh my god, and it's so glorious.
And the best part about it is, they got Jim Cummings back for Darkwing Duck.
Yes. Jim Cummings, one of the very few voice actors actually returning for the show, along with Donald's voice actor.
Like, and I'm surprised. I mean, at first I thought that, and for at least Megavolt, I think Megavolt doesn't have the same voice actor, but I think actually Quacker Jack does. I think
could be. I'd have to.
I mean, at first I thought that Megavolt's original voice actor returned, but then I saw, like, no, it's just like a person doing like a spot-on impression. Keith Ferguson doing a spot-on impression.
Oh, I was going to say, was it Corey Burden? Because Corey Burden is the king of Disney impressions.
No, it's Keith Ferguson here. I was like, I almost thought it was like the original voice actor, but nope.
Well, Corey Burden is in this episode, though, Jacob. We'll point him out when we get there.
All right.
Anyway, so this episode is really, really good on a number of levels, and it's also probably by far the best Launchpad episode of the season.
And I just think it's kind of interesting that they actually put a different spin on Launchpad being a fan of Darkwing Duck by putting Darkwing Duck as a TV series.
Sure, and we'll talk about that momentarily. But just to kind of lay the groundwork here, I don't know. I really like that this episode it serves 3 functions. It introduces us to Darkwing in the context of the show. It serves as a really good origin story for Gizmoduck, who we've been waiting quite a while for. And it also is just a really good character study on Launchpad McQuack. So it really fires on all cylinders, Jacob. Once again, it's like kind of exactly what I'm looking for with this show.
Exactly.
All right, so yeah, let's talk about the whole reveal that Darkwing Duck. I think I pretty much called this, that Darkwing Duck was going to be an in-universe TV show.
Yeah, I think you did.
Jacob, you know what the most exciting part about this whole thing is?
What's that?
Jim Cummings is going to be a character in a Disney animated show. This is going to be really meta.
Yeah, it is.
No, think about it. I'm being serious, because they mentioned the voice actor. Voice actor's name is the actor who plays Darkwing in universe is named Jim Sterling, which is obviously a play on Jim Cummings. So what I'm really stoked on is that it's literally like kind of like an avatar for Jim Cummings as the Darkwing Duck actor character.
I wonder if they'll actually see the actual actor outside of the show.
You know what? That might be something they might get into in season 2 and beyond. But I could see them do a, maybe like they could do a, this is just kind of blind speculation here, folks, of course. But I'm kind of picturing a "Don't Meet Your Heroes" type storyline where Launchpad meets Jim Sterling and he's really disappointed in him, and then somehow maybe Launchpad inspires Jim Sterling to actually take up the Darkwing mantle in real life.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, lots of possibilities there, and I'm really excited about them.
Another possibility I thought was like they do something like The Simpsons did, like have like each episode be like like the old how they did the old movie and how they stitch them together. It's like a coherent story.
I
like saying maybe they could potentially do that. I mean, that's a long shot, but still.
I like that. I like that. At the end of the day, though, I think the most likely thing is that they're going to spin off Darkwing Duck and have Darkwing Duck be an animated show in its own right, but still have it be in context, kind of like how Buzz Lightyear of Star Command exists in the Toy Story universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's another likely possibility. They didn't mention though if it was like a news show or he's just watching old reruns or whatever.
I kind of got the sense that he was watching reruns, but I don't know.
I mean, that's what I was getting, considering like he was watching on older TV and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, we have the bobblehead at the dashboard that says "Let's get dangerous."
It was so nice to hear him say that again.
Fan service, just pure and total shameless fan service, and I love it.
And David and I was like, maybe I should get a shorter intro. Like, not, I mean, the original show did enough lampshading of that. Now they're bringing it into here too.
Yep. Okay, so seriously, getting into the actual episode, though, I really think that this is the most sympathetic we've seen Launchpad McQuack pretty much ever.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few episodes in the original series that kind of had him that way, but probably in this one too. It's like in this one's like he's actually trying to show that he can better himself in ways.
This episode contained a genuinely heartbreaking moment for me, Jacob. I will admit. It's when, of course, the episode starts out where Launchpad's driving Dewey around, and he's all happy-go-lucky. He's like, "Oh, I just got my new driver's license. It's my first driver's license." And of course, Dewey's like, "What? Say what now?" And we just get this ridiculous banter where it's like he's sending, he sends the license right to Scrooge because he wants Scrooge to be the first one to see it. And then the moment that breaks my heart, Jacob, that really kind of tore me up a little bit was, Launchpad and Dewey are kind of going around Big Duck Mansion. Launchpad's like expecting a birthday surprise party. And we know how this is going to end up, like Launchpad's like, "Oh man, they're just building excitement." Like the more this builds up, the more excited I get. And then we see, we'll kind of circle back around to Gyro. We'll circle back around to Gyro. But the moment that kills me, Jacob, is when, they kind of have this, they kind of set out on this thing. And then Scrooge kind of walks away and he's like, "Oh, and by the way, Launchpad." And Launchpad just kind of perks up. He's like, "Yeah? Stop sending your mail to the McDuck Manor. It's for business proposals and junk mail only."
That was like death threats or something.
Death threats, something like that, yeah. Point being, he throws down the driver's license that Launchpad sent him very dismissively, and it's very much kind of like a passive-aggressive, like, "Oh, Launchpad, do me a favor, and don't do this because it's really annoying to me," and blah. And that's a really sad note. I don't know. I feel like I'm not putting into words right. I feel like I really could be explaining it better.
Although I do understand where Scrooge is coming from, though, at the same time.
No, don't get me wrong. I do, but it's just like with Launchpad. Launchpad, this episode almost kind of has a Fozzie Bear quality to him, Jacob. And I say that because Fozzie Bear is a character where, out of all the Muppets, you always want to see Fozzie Bear succeed. You never want to see anything bad happen to Fozzie Bear. Most of the rest of the Muppets, there's comedy in seeing them fail and seeing them get hurt. But Fozzie Bear is like kind of like he's literally the teddy bear of the group, where you don't
He's,
want to see anything bad happen to him. And I feel like in
he's
this
basically the one. He's
episode,
basically the one where you see. He's basically the one where you see humor in his success.
yeah, exactly. Um, so in this episode, we see that in Launchpad, which is fascinating to me because Launchpad McQuack is typically known as like a one-off joke character. It's like, hey, he's the pilot that crashes the planes. And that's it. That's the whole gag.
I like how they upgraded into like being like basically Mr. Scrooge McDuck's personal chauffeur here.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about 2 returning characters here before we get into the big guest spot of the episode, the big build-up that we were kind of hyping up before we knew that Darkwing Duck was going to be introduced. Let's talk about both Gyro and Mark Beaks, because they both play a big role this episode. So I gotta say, Jacob, out of all the things in this new series, one of the things I'm really not loving is Gyro.
Interesting.
I just feel like the original Gyro was kind of just this down home kind of like, he had like a southern charm to him, but he was still like this genius inventor, but he was a nice guy, you know what I mean? And what I don't like about this Gyro is that this Gyro is a little bit more intense. I mean, I guess it makes sense to update the character, right? You like, that's the thing with all these new characters, is that none of them are exactly like the original characters that they're representing. But I don't know, this Gyro to me just kind of feels like a little bit more like he kind of leans too far in the opposite direction of who the original Gyro was. Do I have any merit in that?
And I also think that actually the original show is closer to his comic book adaptation. I might be wrong though.
Okay, Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob, your microphone just really popped a gasket there. Do you mind going out and come back in?
Okay, is it fine
now? Say something.
Hello?
Okay, now it's good. Now it's good.
Okay.
All right. Is there any way you can turn it up a little?
My volume, my microphone's at max volume.
Okay, you're good. It's better now. Okay, sorry. All right. Anyways, just kind of sound a little apocalyptic there for a second.
Fine. I think actually the original series was like more into this comic book version. I could be wrong.
I mean, I agree, and that's why I'm kind of not a big fan of this aggressive Gyro. And honestly, I hope by the end of the episode he kind of softens up a bit. And this is really only the second time we've seen him, right?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely seems a lot more egotistical here.
That's what I'm saying, and that's because to me the whole charm of the original Gyro Gear Loose is that he was kind of like a really humble guy, but at the same time a brilliant guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean he's kind of leaning into that insufferable genius stereotype.
Yeah. So I don't know, folks. I'm curious to know if anyone in the comments wants to either challenge me on this opinion of Gyro or reaffirm my opinion on him. But it's one of those things where, like I said, literally every character across the board, except maybe Donald Duck. Like Donald Duck might be the singular character who's just like in tune with who Donald Duck's always been. And even he's a little bit more aggressive. He's got a little bit more of an edge to him than normal. Every character across the board is kind of being reinvented. It's just, for this, I think it might be just a subjective. Again, I'm probably looking too much into it. I'm sure I'll grow to like this version of Gyro more as we go on. But for now, it's one of the few instances where I definitely prefer the original version to the new version.
I mean, that's understandable too. I mean, I don't dislike Gyro, but I can understand what you mean.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about Mark Beaks, because this was actually surprising to me, especially on a rewatch, Jacob, how much I actually liked Mark Beaks this episode.
Like, actually, I'll agree with you. It's actually kind of an improvement over his first episode, which actually even wasn't that bad then.
I mean, his first episode certainly wasn't as bad as by far the worst episode of the season, which was the Paul F. Tompkins episode.
But yeah, like this is actually like shows like actually shows him like actually in an interesting light, like him and Scrooge actually getting along somewhat.
That's what I'm saying. I really like that they're like, they're not even really rivals. It's like Scrooge is just kind of like, he views Mark Beaks as sort of just like this idiot who he can maybe take advantage of in some ways.
Yeah, it's like, and he's like talking about like maybe if you can win this, I can negotiate the deal to lower the price.
Exactly. But Mark Beaks does have okay, the one moment that really made me crack up was the when he's at the racetrack, because they have the race between Launchpad and then the computer, the pilot, the computer driver, the buddy system. And he does the countdown like 3, 2, 1, and then he does like the pew 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 pew. Then Launchpad's confused, and then I love that the buddy system also has the question mark on the screen. That means go, come on.
It's funny that even the robot he invented doesn't even know what it means.
Exactly.
Yeah,
all right, let's not bury the lead any further, though, folks. Let's talk about Fenton Crackshell Cabrera, voiced by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Woohoo!
Oh man, Jacob, I am so pleased with how much Lin-Manuel seems to be enjoying his time on the show. I mean, you could just tell it's really infectious. And that's the thing about Lin-Manuel just in general that I feel like America's kind of fallen in love with. It's that every time you see this guy, anytime he pops up, you can just tell he loves his work. You know what I mean? He loves being there.
It's a genuine enthusiasm.
Exactly. And that just really shines through in everything he does. And I don't mean like go on a Lin-Manuel love gush, like I had the fortune of seeing Hamilton this year, so I'm still in that high, but
did you actually see the show with him, or was it after he left?
No, I didn't see it with him. I saw the Pantages run in Southern California, but but still, it's his work. You still see his passion behind the show.
Oh, of course.
Anyways,
like you can just tell he's like loves doing what we're doing, especially if it means like working for Disney, which he's a huge fan of too.
So this is like a pretty radical transformation of Fenton Crackshell.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, instead of like being introduced late, he's actually being introduced early, and is actually somewhat of a. What nationality do they say he was considered to be?
He's an intern.
Like I said, like nationality, like a Latino.
Yeah. He's. I mean, I assume he's whatever nationality Lin-Manuel is, which would be Dominican.
I mean, I think it's interesting that they're actually taking that interpretation into it.
No, you're right. I do really like that element of it. It makes sense. And it also just changes up the character. It makes the character more it adds diversity to the show, and it makes the character a little bit more engaging and stand out a little bit more. Because I think my issue with Fenton in the original show is that Fenton was just kind of like a less likable version of Gyro.
Well, here is definitely a more likable,
unlikable, but he just didn't have the charm of Gyro.
And now it's like the other way around.
Exactly. Like in the original show, you almost kind of wish Gyro was the one in the in the Gizmoduck suit. But in this one, right from the get-go, Fenton Crackshell, you can just totally buy as this enthusiastic kind of Spider-Man like superhero. Like this is the Iron Spider, Jacob.
You can tell he definitely wants to please Gyro, and by extension, probably even just please Scrooge McDuck.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the other intern that Gyro has working for him?
the headless man horse.
Oh, man. And that's I can already tell that this show is really, really in tune with those details and callbacks and stuff. It's very Gravity Falls-esque.
Isn't that what it's called? The headless man horse or whatever?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's
still has
horse statue with Scrooge's head on top of it.
It's almost wrong on so many levels.
And then I love how I just like he cracks me up that Fenton and this horse have like this. Oh God, Jacob, I'm just like I literally can't even talk about it without laughing. It's like they have this working relationship, right? Where it's like it's not exactly bitter, but it's like somewhat uncomfortable just given the circumstances.
And how you can understand what he's tapping.
Oh man. Oh, that is just comedy gold right there.
Oh jeez.
But yeah, Fenton is he's just really, really lovable this episode. It's and also I just love that even though obviously you can tell it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, you know, the dude's got a distinct voice to him. But Lin-Manuel, he's going out of his way to make him a character. You know what I mean? He's really not just speaking in his own voice. He's really you know, kind of putting effort into making his character sound more energetic and almost cartoony and animated.
I really liked his performance here.
Yeah, I really think it's a very I really hope that this character ends up being a, you know, a major reoccurring character. I hope we just don't see him every once in a while because you know, just outside of the, you know, just being Lin-Manuel Miranda, I just really feel like I like the message of the character. I like that the character, even though he's in this shitty work situation where, you know, it looks like he's being replaced, he's kind of messing up, even though he means well. At the end of the day, if you put initiative in and if you put, you know, and if you really care about your craft, you care about your job, then, you know, then you can really go places. And I really like that message, Jacob. I think Fenton is kind of like a good role model, and that's what makes Gizmoduck such a good superhero in this show now. And I'm really excited. I hope they go the full-blown superhero route with Gizmoduck.
Who knows, maybe he'll run into Darkwing down the line.
Well, we'll see about that because, like I said, we have the whole the meta, you know, Jim Cummings avatar character to work around when it comes to Darkwing Duck. But wouldn't it be crazy if there was like a really, really old Darkwing Duck that was like, you know, like the Darkwing Duck animated show was based on a real guy? Now I'm just going into like fan theory rabbit holes here, but
oh boy. All right. So,
what do you think? I guess we should talk about the namesake of the episode, which is the buddy system. What do you think of that whole device, the automatic driving car?
it was really kind of an interesting subject and even an interesting callback too.
Mm-hmm.
The whole the light bulb or whatever it's called.
Right.
I mean, it just feels kind of like it almost feels like it came out of nowhere, though. I will say that.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, what I like about it though is obviously it does kind of give Launchpad McQuack just a genuine sense of job security loss. That's what I dig about this episode, Jacob, is it takes on a very real world issue in the idea of job security. You know, like when is your job at stake? When are you at risk of getting replaced? That's something that pretty much anyone that holds down a 9 to 5 can relate to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, actually, also kind of reminds me of the episode Armstrong from the original one, because that's also like
certainly,
a Launchpad, like a Launchpad versus robot episode.
Definitely.
Except at that point, Gizmoduck wasn't introduced yet.
Also, I love the moment where first of all, you know, Launchpad wants to drive Scrooge McDuck back to the city, but Scrooge McDuck's like, "Oh, that's okay, Launchpad. We're gonna go to you know, go to Mark Beaks and sign the deal on all this." You know, he wants to buy a whole fleet of the self-driving cars, and then you know, automatically right away, Gyro's talking to Mark Beaks, who ripped off the buddy system from Gyro himself off the internet, which Fenton Crackshell, you know, God bless him. This is a mistake that an intern would make, leaking the stuff onto the internet, but in a way that's trying to be helpful. But anyways, point being, I love the gag where first of all we get the great timing on like, oh, so what do you do exactly to the robot to you know, I love that Gyro has has this problem of all the robots that he invents turn evil. That is such a Gyro Gear Loose problem. That's probably like the one in-character thing they have about Gyro Gear Loose this episode.
And then it also contains the bull Mark Beaks basically doing nothing.
Yeah, Mark Beaks is just like, oh, I just made them look less lame, man. I mean, they're just stupid robots, am I right?
I mean, there's no doubt that Mark Beaks is a genius. I mean, considering what he was able to do, but it just is like he definitely makes. He's just like he's trying to make money from doing nothing.
So then we cut to the car, and then the buddy system kind of goes out of control, kind of goes really aggro with the seat belts and everything. And
you sure to fasten your seatbelts.
Oh, and by the way, the voice of the buddy system, Jacob, is none other than
Corey Burton.
Burton.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, he's had a long history of voicing robotic characters.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I love that, like, the voice of, like, the Disneyland monorail and stuff like that is the buddy system. It's so fitting.
I was more referring to Brainiac, but it's still cool.
Uh-huh.
I like how easy
the gag where they the car drives past Launchpad, they're all screaming, and Launchpad's like, yeah, I get it. You're replacing me with a robot. Why don't you rub it in?
And Dewey was there to help him through that.
Yeah, anything to say about Dewey? I kind of feel like he was just sort of along for the ride this episode. He didn't really get much in the way of character stuff.
I think it was like another Launchpad and Dewey episode. Like, I think Dewey's like coming to like the forefront as like one of the main nephews in this, because there are no other nephews in this episode.
Well, yeah. Dewey was also the one who was with Launchpad in the Mount Everest episode, correct?
Yeah, I think that was him. Yeah, that or was it Louis?
It might have been. Let me check.
Because I think I know Huey was with the main group.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, regardless.
It was like yeah. I think he's also forming like a good friendship with Launchpad.
Yeah. Well, I think what they're maybe going for is that the nephews, all in their own way, are kind of connecting to Launchpad. Which, again, kind of speaks to the fact that the nephews actually have individual personalities and they all relate to different characters on different levels, which is something that, let's face it, God bless Russi Taylor. She's a fantastic voice actress, legend of the industry. But, the original show never had growth between any of those three characters. They might have as well been one character. All right. Anything we're missing out on, Jacob? What do you think of the actual Gizmoduck reveal? I like how at first when Fenton's trying to hype up Gizmoduck, he really shoots it down. He's like, no, that's not ready yet.
Yeah, that was funny.
But I think Gizmoduck in action, I think they made a good call with saving it until the last couple minutes of the episode. Therefore, the episode in itself is really kind of like a Fenton Crackshell origin story.
And I like how it actually, like, the entire action looks like a moving comic book.
That's what I'm saying, and the animation in this episode is really on point. I mean, like, just looking at the image that we have on screen now, I'm really digging kind of like, the thing that we've been hyping up with the art style from the get-go with the show is the kind of the simple yet really refined animation style that we get, with the
looking at the still, it almost like it looks like it's ripped straight from a comic book.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I dig that coffee cup in the background. Kind of like it's almost the backgrounds are almost abstract in a way.
Yeah, but like it doesn't lose like it touches to Carl Barks at all.
Yeah, really on point stuff. All right, I'm pretty sure we've covered just about everything. I will say that the one redeeming quality that Gyro has in the episode is I do like that by the end he has softened to Fenton a little bit, although he's still just like, Gizmoduck, what a stupid name.
although he's, and then he admitted like using him to like if the other robots go evil, he has a way to counteract it.
Yeah, basically he needs a dummy to test things out on.
Yes, and Fenton's that dummy,
Right,
as he put it. I think that's how he put it. Or like
Jacob.
it's,
Anything else we're missing here?
that's like other than Mark Beaks like saying that I'll have Gizmoduck.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, that is important though. That is a good kind of cliffhanger because to me, what they're doing is, maybe it's just the Mark Zuckerberg and Jesse Eisenberg of it all, but it feels like they're almost kind of setting up Mark Beaks to be a new kind of Lex Luthor-esque villain.
It's like it's like, I was about to say something about it, but like he definitely might be more menacing than we're initially being led on to believe.
Which I really like that because in the original episode he was in, he was pretty much like comic relief in a way.
Except for that one moment with the coffee.
Right.
Like so that might be his true nature and all. It's like he's
No,
definitely
I
like
wasn't a big fan of Mark Beaks when he first showed up, but I gotta say, I am liking where we're going with him.
man, if he turns out to be like kind of like another rival to Scrooge, but in an entirely different way.
Uh-huh.
Or like maybe even like pretty much just appear in the future as like a Gizmoduck villain.
Sure.
Like
All right.
corporate espionage, like even like corporate espionage or something.
So speaking of Scrooge rivalries, next episode is very much going to focus on that, Jacob. Next episode is the missing links of Morshire. Morshire. God, I can't read. I'm sorry. The missing links of Morshire. This is going to be a Scrooge and Glomgold episode. We haven't seen Glomgold in a while, so it'll be nice to see him again.
We haven't seen him since the Mark Beaks episode.
Yeah. It's going to be set in the Scottish Highlands, which I'm kind of excited about because it'll potentially be another big DuckTales adventure episode, much like Mount Everest was. And also, it's going to be guest starring Tara Strong.
Does it say who she is?
Just kind of like an enemy that they run into.
I wonder if like Scrooge and Glom will become like frenemies in this show.
We'll see. I kind of feel like that's already kind of their dynamic in a way.
like a begrudging respect or something.
Uh-huh. All right, episode 13, Jacob, which airs on May 25th, the solo weekend. I'm really excited about this one because it's Mystery at McDuck Manor, episode 13, appropriately enough. And I have two words for you about this one, Jacob, and you know what they are. Duckworth's Ghost. I mean, just like we knew that they were going to radically reinvent Duckworth. Duckworth was like kind of like a big question mark in the show. And boy, howdy, like we did not see how much they were going to reinvent Duckworth.
you can't go far beyond reinvention other than being dead.
You're right. I love it.
I just wonder if the question is, will he just be a one-off character, or will he like actually be in a future episodes like a ghost butler?
Okay, so then we're going to take a brief hiatus for a couple weeks after that, and then the episodes are actually coming back on June 16th for a few weeks, Jacob. So we're moving right along with this season. So on June 16th, we're going to have Jaw Money Sign. I mean, I believe it's probably just going to be pronounced Jaws, but that's how it's spelled out, just Jaw Money Sign. Then episode 15 is the Golden Lagoon of White Agony Plains. Then episode 16 is Day of the Only Child.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm predicting maybe a Webby and Lena episode there.
Maybe.
It's been quite a while since we've seen Lena.
Yeah, she was an interesting character too, along with her Aunt Magica.
Yeah, of course. And Magica, I think, is going to be the end game of the season, so we'll see how that plays out. Okay, and then, of course, folks, Big Hero 6 is going to be coming back on June 9th, and we're really going to have to work in overdrive with that because there's going to be 2 episodes on June 9th and then 2 episodes on June 10th, so that'll be fun, Jacob.
Ooh.
All right. Any last words, Jacob? Any final thoughts on this episode?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching, and I really appreciate all the all the viewership that these DuckTale episodes have gotten. I these are really, really fun for us to do, to look into the show and to cover it. I'm really glad that it's catching on the channel. And until next time,
woohoo.
woohoo.
Yeah.
I am not throwing away my shot.